Hi everybody. We've been doing rather a lot about cases and things we're seeing on the television or through screens, and the fact that we're blaming, well, I am blaming what we've been put in, this construct, this slavemanship, because that's what it is. This world we're in right now, it's not a very healthy one, and it's getting more and more narcissistic. So much so that through this case, it was almost like, thank goodness they couldn't actually lynch you, because people would have lynched you. What do you mean you don't believe and you don't love her? Or all this kind of stuff. And as we find, there's something very, very wrong with the case. So do you see what I mean? People have put their feelings, their beliefs and everything out on something that is something very wrong with it. Anyway, it made me think of things, and I go back to me being this person who was getting divorced in my late 20s. But of course there was this big hole inside me. I didn't have parents who talked about feelings or expressed or did all that. I didn't have that in my marriage. So there was just this big hole, and I came across this person called John Bradshaw. I would love to have a hangout with him and talk to him. But unfortunately, he died 3-4 years ago, and he was in his 80s, but he died. And the reason that he got to where he was is that he went through rather a lot to be able to write the book. And I found this book by his called Healing the Shame That Binds You. And it just made me realise that what we do is we compartmentise these things that are wrong, whatever they are, from eating disorders to when someone's violated us, to our parents, to how we feel about ourselves, and we actually put them in rings around ourselves and use those, and then that becomes your eating disorder, or why you're ill, or why you're depressed, all these things. Then anyway, and it's a shame that we carry inside us. But I came across this article of his, and I just think that everybody should be aware of this, okay? I found a little bit of video on Oprah, so I'm going to add that at the end. But basically, we're all used to blaming someone else, and a lot of, well, everything we put in and what was being thrown at us, right, is being done on purpose and is a program to make us feel terrible and so forth. But what you're actually left with is, you're left with yourself at the end of the day. And in a sense, I've already explained, there's nobody on a white horse coming to save us. I wrote to the president and he took no notice. He didn't even reply to me, even though I said they used him in it. Always got to be a message when I'm recording. Anyway, so in my 20s, I knew that the only person that could save me, and this is for everybody, even though we're put into this horrible construct, the only way we're going to get somewhere is if we save ourselves. And I hadn't realised it like this. That basically, you've got an inner child, and all we are big children. And if that child was treated badly or had a really bad childhood, it doesn't realise that just because you block out the feelings doesn't mean it's not all there in your subconscious. And your subconscious is actually your real life, and that is what you're putting out on other people. I wanted to add this bit into the video. This video is about us as people, but I had to add this bit of James's. It's on this video here on Unscrambled, because what he's realised, or how he puts it, so we've got etymology, we've got another way of looking at it. What this person realised was that what they've done is they've made a program called anxiety. And in anxiety, it's all about making money. In that way that you'll need to go to the doctors, take days off work. There is just so many parts of anxiety. But the big thing is money. And so he broke it down and he calls it the 8 laws. This, I think, is number 4. But if only we realise that. So what's actually happening is, with all the words that we're saying, what we think is wisdom is only actually anxiety. It's not wisdom. It's just somebody else's anxiety in your subconscious, and then you reverberate that out and you think, oh, I'm so virtuous and I'm so full of wisdom. So I'm just going to put this bit on to explain it a bit more. It's never easy. It's never quick explaining something. If you want the 20-second video, then my videos aren't for you. It takes minutes, maybe hours to explain things. It just does. There's just so much information and each bit leads on to another. Because I started off this video about you as a person, what we need to do for ourselves. But how can I not add some of this? Anyway. This is James, already been on Unscrambled, and then I'll carry on with my video.
How does this influence language? How does the fourth law of anxiety, which everyone has known for their whole lives, you must accept without question the dishonesty that is caused by the first three laws. And this is what you are and are not allowed to say. And this is part of why a great many people that have existed on the earth are actually virtually told that they only use 10% of their brain. Because I've asked hundreds of people that, and mostly every one of them has said yes. They were told as children that they only use 10% of their brain. And so, you know, and so this instance of anxiety has the result where young people are told that at a very early age, and this is why religion has been a central pillar of Western civilization, actually, and in all peoples, it's because of this. See, that you know, that qualifies it. Religion qualifies it, you know, in a tangible way. Okay, tangible, or the lie that everyone believes. Okay, the lie that everyone believes is the truth. If everyone believes it, it's true. And so this is the issue with it. And so really, religion is just a it's acting as anxiety, and then you've got all this logic, this hierarchy of logic that is handed down to people, and this one of the overlapping anti-tamper mechanisms is because of the culture shock event of birth, where the human being is, because of this total freak accident, the human being is already on board with the idea of it at a conceptual level, at the quantum level of thought. So they're coming up with it from the quantum level of thought through this freak accident, and then we get on coming from the external, religion, people's relationships, the news media, because the little baby that does not have language, that does not possess language, listens to the news media, and the political optics of what the baby can hear when the baby does not possess language is that anxiety is wisdom and virtuous. I mean, that's why they're saying these things every day. You know, they sound like this every day. The tone of the voice is the same every day. And the political optics of that is that anxiety is wisdom and virtuous. And so you've got the instance there where they hear this tone that reflects that anxiety is wisdom, but then this repeated assertion all day, you know, and so this is an observation, okay? This is an observation that is credible. And so our children are nurtured and have always been nurtured. I mean, so yeah, anyway, so really the fourth law of anxiety, the first law of anxiety is in the individual situation. Second law of anxiety is when the individual is dealing with another person. The third law of anxiety is really a due diligence thing according to the first two. And the fourth law of anxiety is about the group. Okay, and that's how the political entity anxiety operates in each of those circumstances. And so this is the singular event, right? You're in bed, you're at home, watching the TV, thinking, then someone rings you up. Okay, then you go and see someone tomorrow and they say something, and then you actually walk away really unhappy, actually spiritually, because you're not allowed to actually talk about what you want to talk about. You're not allowed to even think about what you want to think about. You can't actually express your actual honest feelings. Okay, and this is the spiritual element. This is a consequence to the spirit. So the spirit, we have consciousness as our spirit. This is the experience of consciousness. Okay, so in your course of your day, you have this double down experience that anxiety is wisdom, and all the while consciousness is going, what? And so that's what I've observed. And
I don't want to confuse what this video is about. This video is more to do, well, it's to do with yourself. But I found myself adding a part of a hangout I had the other day with some amazing people. Josh X, David Giametia, we had Charlie Freak, Patricia and I were there, and also we had Santos. And Josh came on because he's found another way of breaking down the language. But I don't want to talk too much about this, because if I put him on, we're going into this, and although this is amazing, this might be another day if people want to know a bit more about the etymology and how they've done it and what the words we're really saying, because we don't realise what we're really saying and what the words mean. And without that, we're going to be stuck in ourselves, because if you can't communicate properly with people. So Josh has found this new, well, it's not new, but he's understood this total phonetics of the words, what the words really mean, and we don't even know what we're saying. I'm just going to add a little bit of this hangout, although most of the hangout was a lot to do with understanding what words mean, what they really mean. I'm just going to add a little bit of this hangout to show you that people are talking about it. People know that there are things wrong. And I'll just add this bit and you listen to what these wise people say.
Why this is important, I'd like to add, for not for Santos and for the guests on here, but for the ones watching, and that I find, is that hundreds of years ago, they found out, Jesuits, cardinals, establishment, elite monarchies, the consortium of the church and the state, they found out that they can program man very simply with this boat people, as I call it, maritime admiralty, Phoenician, Jesuit, all that, boat people talk, is conditioned our mind that we are 95% of the time operating on a subconscious realm. And when we are out in our busy lives thinking, we're always thinking. If we're thinking, we're hardly conscious. It's a bit like traveling in your iron horse. You get there, sometimes you don't recall the trip there. So this language and this skill set that Josh, Santos, the brother, we have got an understanding of this Christ-like consciousness, and this programming is, I'm here, and I think you're all here to help others be a better version of themselves. And this simple language, cuneiform, picture form, phonetical, Babylon, as we call it now, Babel, is key to our breaking of this cycle. Where Santos, Know Thyself, legendary, iconic video, it began there for me, and knowing thyself is knowing inside, and then the tools that we have are tools, and we've become like a monkey with a quantum 5G processor trying to open a coconut. I don't know how we've got to this stage, but I yield, and I thank you all, especially Josh, for this new, cross-pollination of phonics and alchemic communication. It's truly a great time to be alive. I yield.
That was awesome. That was awesome, David and Josh and Santos and Karen. Wow. Wow. Again, just to be part of discussions like this is what makes it all worthwhile. It's staggering and it's overwhelming. And I'm really, really, really tired of it, because it is time to do something about this.
I mean, Charlie, there's enough information if you want to see it. There's enough information now if you want to wake up.
Karen, that's so true. That's so well spoken, and it's so true. But you know, like Santos says, it's all there. You just have to take the time to watch it, to piece it together. And the problem is, again, that where most of the minds gravitate to within the so-called truth community is always this nickel and dime, always the nickel and dime. A little bit here, bits and pieces of the biggest names. It's all just, you know, a numbers game and a numbers show. How many subscribers you got? How many views have you got? That obviously must be the truth, or that's what's important because they've got the most. And that's what we need to do. As Karen said, the information is there. You have to care enough, people. And look, just think of it this way. What's been going on isn't working. It isn't working, not just that it's not working a little bit, it's not working at all. And in fact, as we find, it is the exact opposite of working.
It's our humility, you know, that allows us to open our minds. If we weren't, and we were so cocksure of all of our secondhand information that we've had given to us through education, then we wouldn't be here on this hangout. This is a hangout for you know, true knowledge. Knowledge is humble. It's from the dirt. It's from the earth. Amaretz in Hebrew, you know, the dirt people. Jesus said, be humble. Be very humble. Be like children. Don't bother about all these educated ones, the scribes and the Pharisees and all of their education. They've got secondhand knowledge only, and they think it's so important. Ours is direct knowledge. So, for instance, if I go around telling people that David's car is orange, and it's not, because I didn't know that David was colorblind, but I do know that he's an honorable person and he's always told me the truth. So why should I doubt? So I go around and inadvertently make a liar of myself by telling people that David's car is orange. He told me that. So that's secondhand knowledge, even though it's a good person telling me otherwise trustable, but he's colorblind, and he doesn't know that, and I didn't know that. So when I go to the garage and open the door for myself to see directly his car, and I see that it's not orange, it's blue, then I have direct knowledge, you know. So now I can go and tell people the true color of David's car, rather than just being a liar with all my second-hand knowledge. And yes, I trust the education system. They've got nice buildings and good books. I trust my minister. You know, he's a good man, and he's very clean living, etc. They've all got second-hand knowledge, guys. The only way you get direct knowledge is through syncretism, the sine wave, the torus field, and that's it. They're the keys, you know. And you've got to be humble enough to pay attention and to sit there for hours in meditation and work these things out, like Joshua obviously has done. Joshua spent a lot of time, you know, working out this monosyllabic language and realizing that these are the keys. You know, it always works, and you can't make it up. He's not making any of it up, as some people will say, because he's come and meditated, and they've still got their second-hand knowledge and education to stop them, prevent them from actually receiving this ultimate truth that the world is made from words, as the Hebrews teach, numbers. And so this is how we unravel this labyrinth, you know. It's through humility. There's no other way.
But basically, it's okay saying things, but you've got to believe it, and it's got to be put into your subconscious for you to live your life. Otherwise, you're not living your life. I always wondered, you know, when I went to church and these people, the vicars, would talk about love, but I never felt that it was in their heart. They were only talking it. People talk masses of stuff, but until you convert it into your subconscious, you will never live the life that you talk about. And it starts with your inner child. And I just left this on here because this is a general idea, right, that it's within our unconscious mind. The inner child can be seen as a sub-personality, a side of the character that takes over when you are forced with a challenge. The inner child reflects the child we once were in both his or her negative and positive aspects. And that is just so true. And if a lot of people, he wrote this article, I saw it, and then I started to buy his books. He put in there basically that we repress these memories and we push them so far away, but they're actually in your subconscious. And until you deal with what's in your subconscious, you won't be happy in yourself. As long as, if you're happy in yourself, then things work out differently anyway. So he was sort of explaining that two people coming together as halves will never make a whole, and that's the mistake most people make. You have to be whole in yourself, and then two whole people make a wonderful relationship. Two half people make a broken relationship. And until we come to terms with our lost inner child, we're always going to be the same kind of society. Anyway, I'm just going to play a little bit of his.
And that's when I began to realize the power of this energy of this child that's in us, and that it's so important. And to bring that, I call it reclaiming the wounded inner child. Mm-hmm. And I've never seen anything like the power of it that touches people, because we've all got this wounded child in there. See, childhood abuse is characterized by defenses. The worse the abuse, the more the person just dissociates from what's happening. Like incest is the worst, of course. You just block out the memories. But it's like I'm an adult, but I've got this secret that I've been carrying around, this low-grade chronic rage or this low-grade sadness that I've never dealt with. When we touch the child, we begin to touch that energy again. So the non-dominant handwriting, the writing the letter, the infancy, this exercise, these are all ways to try to touch the energy of that child and to embrace that child and accept that child as a part of us.
This whole thing that we're in isn't a new thing. This program was in the 1990s. So people were feeling like we do then. The only thing is we probably believed more in the system then, whereas a lot of us don't believe in the system anymore. People who did believe in it don't believe in it. But this was in the 1990s. This program that's been going on, it's been years and years and years. But the thing is, we can keep on blaming them, or we can start taking responsibility for ourselves and working things out for ourselves. Because the only person that can cure you is you. No matter how much pills you take, no matter how much listening, and listening is really good, because often when you hear someone say something and it goes right in and it affects you and you think, wow, did you hear what they said? Oh my goodness. So those things can happen, but until you change it in yourself, and anyway, most people don't listen, because most people don't even want to admit they're broken. We're not broken because we're meant to be. We're broken because it's a system that's been put on us to do this. But at the end of the day, when you're here, no matter how much blaming we do for these people and the system we're in and the governments and everything, the only person that's going to help you is you. While you're able and walking is you. So just finished playing a little bit more of him.
If you know that you were an unwanted child and that's where your problems are coming from and you're dealing with it, how do you continue to deal with it when you confront your parents? When you can deal with it, but they still didn't want you every time you see them.
You have to grieve it and move on. I mean, it's like you can't get them to want you. See, a lot of us have busted our tails in our lives trying to get our parents to want us, and that just doesn't work. You've got to grieve it, and it'll always be sad. It'll never not be sad. But you need to move on and let us know. We'll tell you you're wanted. And you can find a family of affiliation that can tell you you're wanted. The best thing we can do is fix ourselves. You finish your own unfinished business, you will not have to pass that on to your children.
Yes.
See, most of us don't remember prior to 7 or 8 because that was a magical, non-logical stage. It was a felt thought stage. That's why I have you write with your non-dominant hand or do an age regression so you can get to the child's energy.
So how do you then recall? Well, it's very interesting, that exercise. I don't know about for you all, but the homecoming exercise, when you look through the house and go through, I felt so lonely. I saw myself as such a lonely little child playing on the porch, and I never, to this day, thought I was lonely. But that is the overwhelming emotion that I felt, is that I was so, alone.
See, the fact is that that's a very light age regression, but one of the problems with the wounded inner child is age regression. Anytime you're overreacting, temper tantruming, pouting, you're in an age regression. So age regression isn't something we don't do. We do it all the time. So by age regressing, you don't have to get the exact memories. Don't make your recovery dependent on memories. But Oprah got the feeling. All we want is the feeling to see how lonely that little child was.
So I hope by just watching, or hopefully getting to the end of this sort of like half an hour or 20 odd minutes video, that maybe it's enlightened you, made you think about a few things, made you realise that you're not alone, that many people are talking about these things, that you have to sort yourself out, you've got an inner child, and while we continue to keep blaming everybody for everything, we're never going to get anywhere. But they are playing on everything, and that is why they use these cases. This is what they're doing to us through the media, unfortunately. But unless you know who you are, we're always going to be a very narcissistic society now. Anyway, I hope this has helped you, and thank you very much for watching. Leave your comments below.